In this video, I will share how we can sync the axis across multiple charts and point out some of the problems that might arise when you try to combine two measure values for comparison. So here we have two charts side by side for comparison, the sales chart and the cost chart. If you did not notice, these axes are actually different. So having a different axis may give us a skewed perspective when comparing the values. So what we want to achieve here is to have these two bar charts sync up on the same axis. So in Tableau, what we can do to sync the charts is to have a dual axis. So let's say I have a sales chart over here, and then I might want my expense as well. Let's change this to a line chart first. So over here, by changing this to a dual axis, I can right click here and sync the axis. Over here, we can compare the sales and expense all in one chart, and we have the line chart representing the expense and the bar chart representing the sales. But what if we want the expense to actually also be a bar chart? So if we do this, we actually lose the expense bar chart because some of this will overlap the sales bar chart. So we cannot compare our sales and expense side by side. So what we can do to solve this is actually pretty simple. All we need to do is drag the measure names up here, and now we are able to see two bar charts of expense and sales. So now let's go back to our first initial view. In the case we want to actually represent them as two separate charts, how can we solve this issue over here? Because they are on different worksheet, we can't sync the axis. So what we're going to do here is to make use of the idea of the reference line. So what I'm going to do is I have already created this calculated view. I am going to call this as an axis reference. I want to take the maximum of the value of the sales or the expense. So this will give me the maximum value across these two charts. And the next step is to drag this axis reference to the detail. And once we have this in the detail, we can use this to create a reference line. So we can add a reference line over here, and we select axis reference, and we want the maximum. So we will do the same for the other chart. So we also want a maximum. Now when we go back to our view over here, we can see that both charts will have the same maximum value, and this is how we can sync both the axes. And the next final step we need to do is just to hide this axis over here. So we can go over here and remove the formatting. And the label, we don't need any label. Okay. Okay. And then we do the same for this. None label, and we none on the line. And there we have our axis sync across the different charts.